So what I will say next, because we were planning to have like some more news conversations, trying to catch up on like what's going on in the world, which has been a lot. There's a lot going on, but we also and we weren't going to do a movie review this year, but Andy and I both watched a film together for it's a film that we've seen back when it first aired, but we rewatched it again and had a lot of thoughts about it, and we want to talk about it again. And you may know the film called Knocked Up, with such stars as Jason Segel, Jonah
Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill, Katherine Heigl,
Paul Rudd.
Judd Apatow's wife. I always forget her name. Judd Apatow's wife.
Leslie Mann.
And I forget.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Thank you. Among others.
Among other things, yes. It was. It was just a couple of days ago. We just had our annual jerk meeting, just to kind of discuss. Just to discuss, some of the achievements and goals that we reached last year, and to set new ones for this coming year. And after the meeting, me and Rob hung out a little bit afterwards, and the movie Knocked Up came on the TV.
Technically, we watched 3 films, but Knocked Up was the one that really threw us to the floor.
Right. What is it? We were just kind of hanging out because it was actually like a repeat. We kind of caught the end of Knocked Up before our meeting, and then afterwards it came back on again, and we're like, oh, Knocked Up is playing again. So we decided to sit and watch the whole thing. And as we were watching, we certain things were hitting us. And we were kind of noticing things about the movie that really surprised us. I mean, I was surprised. I was completely bewildered by what I was seeing. And I'm sure, and I know Robert was feeling the same way.
Because I said it while we were watching it. It was like, holy fuck, this is a great film.
Right. Yeah. Because interestingly enough, the movie Knocked Up has a very conservative and traditional message, it conveys a very conservative and traditional message. Because for those of you not unaware, Knocked Up is about is a movie about 2 strangers who have a one-night stand. And and because they didn't take precautions, the woman ends up becoming pregnant, and sorry, so the woman ends up becoming pregnant, and they decide to have the baby, and they decide to see if they like each other enough to make the situation to make their situation work, and maybe they can be together, or and if not marry, get married to one another. And I was stricken as all hell by this movie, particularly because of who are the people behind this movie, because a great many of them are noted lefty Hollywood types now.
Right.
Like Judd Apatow, he constantly puts out egregiously leftist ideology out on Twitter, and then of course Seth Rogen cucked himself by doing those Bud Light commercials talking about the wage gap and
oh god
and the supposed pink tax and all that stuff. It's but it's hilarious to me because you know um, you know they were doing such a they were doing such a dangerous thing because they were showing images of the baby as it was progressing, and
Right.
I was like, dude, that's so dangerous because you're actually showing a baby at like specific um, intervals of its development. And you can actually see like even at like I think it was like 18 or 20 weeks, it looked like a baby.
But here's the thing. It was before that they were showing pictures of that, and it's like that's a baby.
Right, and yeah, and they were like showing, they were like, they were basically communicating. They were basically, it was basically a biology lesson. They're like, oh, it's 8 weeks. That means the baby has a heartbeat. And
Also, yeah, and well, here's the thing. It was many weeks before what would be considered before the time a baby would be legal to be aborted as. But then it was also like saying, for in the movie, based on the storyline, you have Katherine Heigl, who was the main female character, who was saying is like even 8 weeks into the pregnancy, who knew she was pregnant by that time, was saying is like, I'm gonna keep this baby. And then you would have her mother, who was kind of the in quote unquote the bad guy, saying is like, oh, well, you don't want to have this baby, you should abort it, you want to have a real baby. And based off the storyline, saying that it's like, oh, she's the kind of the bad guy, saying it's like, oh, how can you say something like so horrible like that?
Right.
And
yeah, because
title saying it's like, looking at her as like, oh, that's so horrible, why would you say that, something like that, I want to have this baby.
Right. Yeah, because they were like kind of in like this split or dual kind of thing that was going on. Seth Rogen's character went to go talk to his dad, and then Katherine Heigl went and talked to her mom, and the mom was the one who was saying like, oh, you shouldn't have this baby, you should wait till you should wait till find the right person, or but it was like it was not like in like such a romantic kind of way. It was more of like a pragmatic uh, or some not, if any, in any other context you'd be like, you're a bitch kind of way. It's like wait till you find like the actual person that you want to have a baby with, or like like how Robert was saying, she called she the mother character referenced like a step sibling, and she's like, oh, your stepsister had an abortion, and then a few years later she was able to have a real baby with her husband. And it's just like,
right, that's a fucking shocking statement, by the way. It's really horrific.
Exactly. I mean, just like the idea is like of a real baby. Like the baby in the baby in your womb is a real baby.
Well, first of all, like in the context of the movie, it's like, how the fuck can you say something so horrible for that? But then you think in real life, it's like that is what happens. That's unfortunate that if you look on the real like line, kind of like the sexual timeline, there's a lot of families that think that, like, kind of the quote unquote illegitimate child is like, you want to have a real baby, not this fucking like garbage baby.
Yeah, you don't want a bastard.
Yeah. Where it's like, the thing is, like, it doesn't matter where the bloodline comes from. That's a real baby.
Right.
It doesn't matter where the bloodline comes from.
Right. But, and then also, interestingly enough, they're doing like that kind of mirror kind of thing where, Katherine Heigl's character was talking to her mom, and then Seth Rogen's character was talking to his dad. It was Seth Rogen's, character's dad that was reaffirming him. It's like, oh no, like, having a kid is great. You were the best. So you were the best thing that happened to me, and just like, so are you freaking kidding me right now? It's not the mother, trying to get talking the child into keeping the baby, but it's the father who's being like reaffirming and compassionate and understanding. It's like, hey, this is gonna change everything, but it was worth it.
It's gonna change everything for the better.
Exactly.
Well, and here's the thing about the whole movie that we both realize is that it's not that it's just going to change the life of the person, both persons actually, but not only did Katherine Heigl and Seth Rogen, they both wanted the child. They both realized it was going to change their life, and later on in the movie, they both said it was going to change their life for the better. This is like one of the most conservative movies that we've ever seen, where not only did Katherine Heigl change her life, where she kind of like relaxed and realized her, kind of like where she was going to go in life, but you also have Seth Rogen, who is a man-child, who grew up to be a man 100% and was dedicated to serving, what was going to become his wife in Katherine Heigl's character, and stepped up to be a man. I think that's pretty awesome.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah, because again, in the beginning of the movie, you see Seth Rogen hanging out with his buddy, kind of doing like jackass stuff, smoking weed, and just kind of living like that bachelor life. And then, and then you see Katherine Heigl, who was kind of, career driven, a little uptight, I would imagine like the phrase "frigid bitch" come up.
I don't know how to put that, but she was definitely stuck up.
Right. And so you have like these two complete opposites who are lacking something. I'm not saying that that they were deficient as people or they're not. But they were just something. They were just missing something, and that something was each other. What that something was complementarianism. And I think what people are forgetting is that a man needs a stabilizing element, and usually that stabilizing element is a woman and a family. And the stabilizing element for a woman is a man who it can provide, and who provides, protects, and functions in the way that a man is expected to do so. And one of the great scenes was at the hospital where Katherine Heigl's character's sister comes in, and she kind of like kind of takes over the scene, and she is like, oh well, thanks for helping her to the hospital and everything. He's like, but I got it from here. And then Seth Rogen's character is like, can I talk to you out in the hallway? And then takes her out into the hallway and like just
and tells her to go to fuck herself.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, dresses her down, and like, hey, you know what? This is my baby. This is that's my baby in there, and I'm the father.
This is my fucking room.
Yeah. It's like, this is my room. It's like, you go over there where the Pepsi machine is. That's your area. My room, your area. And then he walks away, setting the terms, setting the boundaries. And then Leslie Mann, the actress that plays Katherine Heigl character's sister, kind of like walks dumbfounded back to the waiting room.
Why did you say that to me?
And then she's like, I can't believe you said that to me. And I was like, are you real?
I think I respect you.
It's like, how pissed off are you? It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, I kind of like him now. It's just like, so we see that growth within Seth Rogen's characters. Him stepping up as a man. But I mean, beyond, but beyond, or prior to that scene, you see him kind of, getting his act together by first moving out of the kind of the bachelor house with his friends, and getting a place of his own, and then getting a stable job. Because at the time, at the time he met Katherine Heigl's character, he wasn't working. He was living off of this annuity or something that he got from the government because he got hit by a mail truck, and so
Right.
yeah, and so like yeah, he finally got his act together, and then I guess one of like the final like test was when his friends called him up. It's like, hey, we're gonna go out to this new club. It's like you're gonna roll, and then he was like, oh no, it's I think I'm gonna call it a night. Because he realizes he now has responsibilities.
Yeah, that was the what you're talking about. Like he didn't want to he didn't want to go out to the club and do all that stuff and hang out with his friends because it's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to do all that stuff. I'm reading the baby books. I'm getting prepared for my son or daughter that's going to come into the world, and he was good. He was growing up. He was growing as a person, and his other friends who were they were kind of the man-childs. They're like, yeah, you want to do this or that, and fuck it, let's do it.